Welcome to another great episode of the Beyond Normal podcast. I'm your host, Kenny Groom. We are in season 8. I can't believe it. We've been able to connect with some incredible founders. We have an incredible founder and really UX guru, like you've been in design your whole life or your whole career. Why am I saying your life? And I think in this space we're in right now, and we're going to definitely talk about it. We got the robots doing some of the things for us, but when it comes to designing things for human interaction, I wanted to have on my guest today, Calvin Robertson. You are, again, your career is in UX design, but in terms of the company you're building now, you're building Jubileague, right? Which is amazing. It's really a space for players and playmakers to really find, the way that they can add value and interact, right, in the world of gaming. Gaming is as big as it's ever been. I come from the cloth of regular Nintendo, and we're shooting ducks. We're not doing that anymore with the games, I understand. And so I'm excited to have you on today, Calvin, and we're going to dig into a couple things around design and just your background. Absolutely. How you feeling?
I'm feeling good, man.
Feeling good?
Thanks for having me and feeling good, man. Happy to be here.
Yes, and so we actually not collaborated. What am I talking about? We are collaborating right now, but we met last year, right, when you were doing the camp, the Playmaker camp. Let's set the stage, though. Let us know, like, what you were doing before starting Jubileague. What was your time spent in the world?
Yeah, that's a good question. I was in an opera place, actually. I started Jubilee because it was something that I've always wanted to do, and I just kind of put it on the back burner to pursue my career. And before starting Jubilee and Playmaker, I was in my career for going on 23, close to 24 years, and I was impacted by a layoff. And had this weird moment that happened like a month or two before the layoff happened, where I literally just woke up out of my sleep. And it was just like, I got to do this business. I have to do it right now. There was like this strong sense of urgency. You have to do it right now, like go, start doing it. And that's what I did. I got the paperwork together with the state. I made a couple of videos. And in that video, on my YouTube channel, I even say, hey, I'm doing this in public. I'm doing it out loud. I'm just going to go, right? Not sure where this is going to go, but I'm just going to follow this unction that I'm getting to start this business and to build this idea right now. And I did that. I leaned into that. And a couple of months later, I was hit with a layoff. And it was a weird moment because after I got the notification from my manager at the time, I got off the Teams call. And I went downstairs from my office, went downstairs in my living room, and I looked at my wife and I said, I think I got laid off. And she said, well, I don't know how to take this. Why are you smiling? Because in that layoff, it was really an opportunity for me to do something that I was denying myself. And I took that as an opportunity to say, I have just a short runway to be able to just go all in and to do this thing. And that's what I did. I used those few months after that layoff to really start this business. Now, I wasn't done with my UX career at that time, but I said, hey, while I continue to pursue that, while I have this extra time, I'm not going to rush back into another role right away. I'm going to just pour all of this because, again, I saw this as an opportunity to just do something that I wanted to do, and I denied myself from doing it for quite a long time.
That's real, man. Yeah. Like this. It's interesting that you said you went through a layoff, right? That's nothing to laugh about, right? But the thing for me, and I'm hearing more and more people, especially in our current times, being comfortable with, okay, now let me figure out what's next. And then for you to say, hey, I'm going to start a business during this time and use that during your reset, your career reset. I commend you for that, one, because it's not easy when you're used to okay, let me look at these bills coming in. How am I supposed to pay?
Yeah.
But when you take a step back and having those moments where you can maybe dig into your passions and that still kind of does something for your career. Like there's power in that.
And yes. And I'll even say this too. The moment wasn't, okay, I've been laid off. What am I going to do? And I have to go figure it out. This is something that's been stewing for a long time. Even with my first professional role back in 2001, this is when I was at Hallmark Cards. I had an opportunity to join a team that was building a CD-ROM game at Hallmark. And this was outside of my day job. My normal job was to be a web developer in the IT department. But through networking and relationships, I found this opportunity that was in a completely different department to be a game developer, right? And it was through those relationships that I had that afforded me that opportunity to create the CD-ROM game that was inside of a birthday card. We sold in Walmart stores around the country, right? That was my first major video game concept, but it was kind of like a side table project. And I had a few more projects like that all throughout my career. So this is something that has just been kind of slowly cooking for a while. And so then when I get this opportunity, another thing that led up into me deciding to do this, I was actually in the process of pursuing a grant to raise funds to build this gaming company. And what was interesting about it was I'm filling out the application. The crazy part about it was the questions about, marketing or business operations, all those questions didn't bother me. I have an MBA, so those questions, I understand those part. The question that stuck with me after filling out the application was this. It said, why aren't you working on this full time? And my answer was, I have a full-time job. And then it asked the question maybe 2 or 3 different ways, trying to understand, why is this person applying for grant money and not doing the job full time? And I have a full-time job. Well, can you do your full-time job part-time so that you can do the part-time thing?
Wow.
Full-time, right?
Okay.
So, no, I can't do that because I have this full-time job and, I'm in this director role and I can't do that part-time. You have to be there for the team or be there for the company. You might have to travel for the company. Like if you're in that high-level role, I can't just take off when I want to. I have to, commit to that job. So they asked the question a couple different ways. I responded a couple different ways. But when I walked away from that application, they were excuses, right? Like they were really trying to get to, why aren't you doing this full time? I was telling them why I couldn't. It stuck with me a month before that layoff happened. And then when the layoff happened, all those questions came back to me. I have no excuse now to start this business, right? The one thing when I had everything else about the application was I got this. That one question bothered me. And now that burden, quote unquote, is gone. Now what can you do? It was kind of an answer to a prayer, but I'm like, okay, I didn't expect it to come that way, but here we are. What are you going to do with it, Calvin? And that was my first step. So
that's dope. Like you were pushed off the cliff,
literally,
in that moment. That's interesting that they phrased it that way, because I get it. Like a lot of times when grants are given or investors come and they want to put money into you, they're like, all right, how do I guarantee you put all your time into this?
Right.
And, that's definitely a fair question. And it's just so easy to say, life won't allow me to do that. And that's usually what like you said, that's where the excuses come in.
Right.
I think taking it off you just a little bit, because I don't want you to feel like you're going through this by yourself. I've had those same kind of thoughts. I think I gave myself a runway to say by the time I'm 40, right, I would be able to do this full time. Beyond Normal Media on every outlet worldwide. Right. But I like what you're saying, having that endpoint to it, and then now you, like you said, there's no reason why you can't follow this passion of yours.
Right.
You almost got to give yourself, you got to set it up to where you don't have an out. You can't rely on those excuses.
Yeah. And I'll build on that too. When that moment happened, I was a leader. still I'm a leader. But one of the things I struggled with was not only was it an excuse, it was a crutch. I would use my full-time job to not take some of those passion initiatives seriously.
Mm-hmm.
And what I noticed was early on, the same skill that I would use in leading a design team at a major corporation, I could use those same leadership skills, management skills, operational skills in my own thing. And that, for whatever reason, that comfort zone, that safety blanket, because I've been in the industry for so long, I know how to do this. This startup thing was new to me, even though I had attempted it a couple different times earlier in my career. So I wasn't totally foreign to it, but I knew what my shortcomings were in those previous endeavors. Now I'm coming at it differently, saying I'm wiser, I'm smarter, I have more resources, I can do this differently. And two things, I had a support system.
Mm-hmm.
Right, you're not in this alone. If you have a support system, have a wife at home that's like, we're gonna do this. Like this is not the worst thing we've gone through. Like we've been through more than this, so we got this, right? So when you have someone in your corner, you're like, yeah, Superman. I can do this. Now, not gonna sugarcoat it. It was tough, right? But when you have somebody that is with you, you can stick it out. And then I found other people, right? So I jumped in this community, this entrepreneurial community in Charlotte, and met new people, got advisors, all those things. I just tapped in to what was already available to me in the city. And then I started to learn new things and try things and just kind of step out a little bit more in a way that I hadn't done in previous, attempts at this, and got different results.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, you definitely need that support system
that helps, man. Like that's, what's interesting. We had our guest last season, Donovan Everett. We recorded that one with a live audience. Amazing conversation. And that was one of the things that stood out to me. Similar to you, tons of experience, domain expertise in a particular industry, but he mentioned the spouse, having the right spouse and partner, and how it will make or break your experience being a founder.
Yeah.
And that's like what do you like? You don't know. Like, I don't think people are going through. Maybe they are going through conversations where they're courting their spouse, asking like, if I do this, they're not proactively doing it, but they're probably like feeling it in their head. You know what I mean?
That's a good question, right? Now, it's funny you say that. None of the stuff I'm doing now, we thought about when we met.
Yeah, so how do you even?
But the reason why she decided to say yes to me when I proposed to her was she saw that I had a lot of vision. So if you don't know what tomorrow may bring, but do you have somebody that can see you and go, I don't know where we're going, but wherever it is, it's going to be amazing because you have vision. You say what you're going to do. You do what you say you're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I can get with that. I can follow that. I can connect. And I can help you build. Right. So that's the other thing. She saw that I had vision. She saw that I was ambitious, but she also said, I'm going to help you build it.
Yeah.
Right. So then
there's got to be an expectation when you see somebody has vision too. Like, this person's going to think through things and they're going to come to the table with ideas that may go against the status quo in a way. And I'm pretty sure you being a designer, like, we're going to dig into that. Like, you're thinking of ideas that are not status quo all the time. So I can imagine, imagine you can't turn that off. So it's like you said, for a partner to accept that from you, there's like, they got to take both sides of it. There's going to be a side that they're super comfortable with, and then the other side is there's going to be some decisions you make that they don't fully understand.
Right? And you can respect that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in you saying that, I remember like when we were dating in college, I went to A&T, Aggie Pratt.
Shout it out.
Yep. And she went to Elon, and we would hang out, or there were times where she would want to hang out, And I'm like, no, I'm grinding. I'm doing homework.
Mm.
And she would see how diligent I was at my craft. And so on one hand, she get mad because it's like, nah, I want to go.
Trying to go out.
I'm trying to go out, right? And I'm like, nah, I gotta listen. I'm graduating in a couple months. I gotta get it. So, and to a lot of degrees, I still do that. But we've created like this balance of, okay, I gotta have my time, but then once my time is up, I got to be locked in with her or locked in with the kids.
Yeah, the family.
Yeah, because she sees the vision, but then it's not just for me; it's for the family as well, right? So that balance is key. And yeah, she's a soldier. She's ups, downs, the all nighters, and
yeah, understood.
Patient with it. So
let's talk a little bit about like the focus of Jubileague and take it. Your experience in design. Like, I want to go back. Like, you're focusing on the world of games. Yeah. So I have to ask you, like, were you a gamer growing up? Like, were you that kid? I was that kid, so don't feel like I'm attacking you. I can tell you about my favorite games. I can tell you about all that. So, like, were you a gamer?
I wasn't a hardcore gamer. I was one of those maybe wannabe gamers because my parents would only allow me to play games on weekends.
Oh, okay.
So it was kind of truncated. So it was, I get out of school and okay, we got to go to the rental store.
Blockbuster?
Get the Blockbuster. Yeah. Sometimes it'd be like the little mom and pop.
Yeah, the mom and poppy ones. Yep.
Rentals, right? And I get the game. I would play it Friday night, Saturday night, maybe a little bit on Sunday, and that's it.
Are you beating the game in the weekend?
Probably not.
Okay. Got it.
Because
okay.
It's one of those where you can get a certain way through the game, but man, I only have 3 days, maybe 2.5 days.
And you're sleeping. You're going to sleep.
There's a little bit of sleep, maybe, but it's like, this is all the time I got, right?
Yeah.
Where my friends can, they can play all day, every day, after school or whatever. I didn't have that luxury, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a gamer.
I don't know if that's a luxury.
I mean, nowadays.
Well, yeah, we don't want them to play the game.
Maybe not so much now. But then the privilege, right?
Yeah, the privilege.
Access to do it where I didn't. And so, I was more like a wannabe gamer. I wasn't into it as much, but I appreciated it because of the art, the music, the design. And I was the kid that would actually read the instructions.
Oh, wow. Interesting. I'm throwing the instructions to the side and just like click and start and then figuring it out.
That was my little brother. My little brother would play. He would get frustrated. Why can't did you read the instructions? No. It's okay. And so I would take the time to read the instructions. That might, take a few minutes, an hour or whatever. And he would typically be the first one to play, get frustrated, get off the game. Then I would go in
and you have your time.
Game, and I have my time, right?
Got it.
And in that, I'm getting the full experience of the game, right? Because whoever that designer was, they had to design the cover and the layout. And so that was me at a young age, kind of understanding the full user experience of the game. It's not just, the cartridge that you put in the box, but it's, the booklet that came with it. Maybe it's the magazine that you would get in the grocery store with the cheat codes. Like I was more attracted into the world of gaming, even if I wasn't deep in any, one game or multiple games. So
that's dope, bro.
Yeah.
And I think where we're at now, and with the anime conventions, comic book conventions, like to your point, it's more about the world that's created around it versus the game or the one comic in and of itself. It's like, no, like people are embraced, like they're immersed in the world, like they're cosplay, like they're living the characters now in the real world. So it's interesting that you were drawn to, like you mentioned, like the manuals and like that sort of the presentation of it.
It was the presentation of the game that really drew me in. And even I would remember playing the game and just stop playing. I'll even do this now, right? I'll play a game and I'll stop playing just so I can watch it, right? I would do that with Miles Morales. I did that with Horizon, right? I'm playing and I would just stop and I would just watch, like God of War, right? I would play and then I would just stop and just kind of watch and look at the details of how the scene was designed and how the character was designed, and even some of the Easter eggs. What would happen if the character is not moving, right? It has some personality
They may yawn or like look in their book bag and
do something
different stuff.
Yeah, break fourth wall, like look at you. Right?
Yeah, okay.
Him, right? Like different things like that. And I'm like, wow, somebody thought enough of the experience to put that in there, even though it may not bring any value to the game. You can't get extra points for it, but it creates an experience that sticks with you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, all of that it's that world building or storytelling I was really drawn to, in addition to, man, this is an awesome game. Like, it's entertaining to play.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't, like I said, I wasn't that kid at all.
Yeah.
So I commend you for that. I want to pivot a little bit. Like, what, for you to go into design, like, what sort of courses or like what sort of thinking about learning environments? Like, how do you hone your skill set or your interest in UX design, graphic design?
Yeah.
Where you were when you were coming up? Like, what was that? What was that like?
Some of the earliest memories I have of just being aware that I know that this thing was designed was things like commercials, right? I would notice that shampoo commercials, right? I would notice that shampoo commercials may not have people in it that look like me. And I would go, interesting. I need to wash my hair too, but this isn't speaking to me. Like, who decided to not put somebody like me inside of this? Or the dishwashing soap commercials, and how, you see the lady wash the plate and she will hold it up and you see that little sparkle, like that little ding. And I'm going, dishes don't do that when you clean it. Mm-hmm. They embellish that. Who made the decision to put that little sparkle and then put music behind it? It'll go ding. Like, who decided to do that? If dishes don't do that, is that a job? Is somebody responsible for doing that? So I just noticed stuff like that as a kid, right? Just watching TV or just going through the stores. And I didn't know what that was. I didn't know it was a career that you could do, that you could sign up for or go to school for. So growing up, my mom would tell me, hey, you should go into like graphic design or go into comic book design. And I'm telling her just outright, I was like, you can't make money doing that. I don't want to do that. I'm going to do something that makes a lot of money. I'm going to be an architect. So I started like getting into architecture, like studying buildings. And that was the path I took starting in high school. I took architectural drafting. Actually, it went back in the 7th grade. I took a mechanical drafting class in the 7th grade.
Is that like CAD and stuff? Okay.
Well, it was CAD before CAD, right?
Yeah, understood.
Before the software, we were doing it with like pencil and paper and like stuff like that, and
compass,
compasses.
Yeah, got it. Understood.
Like all of that.
Okay.
And so I did that from 7th grade all the way through 11th grade. It was all paper, pencils, things.
Yeah, that's a real
deal, right? Loved it. Loved designing houses and buildings and stuff like that. In the 11th grade, CAD came in, and it was only one computer in the classroom, and the other, 20 or so desks were still like your architectural like tables. And I remember looking at that computer and telling my teacher, Mr. Parker, I'm not going to use that computer. That computer cannot design better than I can. You can forget it.
Oh, we're going to talk about this later, where we're at now. Yeah. No, you giving me a segue, but keep going.
And I fought it. And then the next year, instead of one computer, it was a whole row. And I had taken this architectural drafting class. This is now my 4th year straight, all through high school. I know I am going to be an architect when I grow up. Can't convince me otherwise. Mr. Parker said, I don't know what you got to do, but you are not getting out of this class
without touching it,
without touching CAD, without touching AutoCAD. And I said, okay, all right, fine, I'll try it. I used it one time and was hooked because I understood that all the things that I didn't like about hand drawing, like the little arrows that we had, Mr. Parker would grade us on the curve of the arrows. If the curve wasn't precise enough, he would dock points from our blueprint. Right? And that was so tedious, but I just got so used to doing it because I wanted an A, right? So I would do it, right? But when I would get on AutoCAD and I would design it perfect once, and it would become a design system that I can just copy and paste and deploy everywhere, I was like, oh, okay, so all the tedious stuff that I don't want to do, this computer can do it a lot better than I can. But now I can spend more time doing all the stuff that I love to do, right? I even had like a little side project when I was in high school. Our high school was doing some construction work on the football field and track field. And so our athletic director came to Mr. Parker and said, hey, I need a student to do, lay this out, create a blueprint so we can do some construction work out here. And he goes, I got the person for you. And I played football and ran track. So it was like, wow, that's the
best of both worlds for you, right?
Yeah. It's like the sad part was after they redesigned it, I never performed on it.
Oh, really? Because you had left.
I left.
Yeah, okay.
That was a senior project. And it was like,
okay.
Bittersweet. It was like, I'm laying out this blueprint for a new stadium. And I came back and visited.
You held off on touching it, for a little bit,
so that I can be in that moment to be the student,
exactly,
bring that experience, to the school, right? And so, that was kind of the start of my now going into UX, right? Even though I'm not doing architectural design anymore, all of those skills still apply because it's what I tell a lot of people in UX. The visual part is great. The visual part to me is more of a byproduct of understanding how people work, how systems work, how people move through systems, how systems are designed to direct people to do something or not do something. So those are the skills that were transferable in the UX world, in the software development world, right? And then if I do that part well, right, that's the one thing you learn about designing a house. Somebody has to live in this house day in and day out. You want them to have a good experience. You have to understand how people work and how they move and how they think. And if I take those same principles and move into software design, I get the same results. And as a byproduct, you have awesome looking software.
Yeah, I like it. So let's talk about, there was something in there that you said, there were a couple things, right? But we're going to touch on the experience of you having, at an early age, having exposure to that, and things the wheel starts to turn in terms of like, you want to go down the architecture path, the design path. Talk about with Jubileague and the Playmaker program. Like, what are you seeing? Like, what needs to be front and center, in your opinion, for the next generation of architects and game developers and stuff like that?
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I started Playmaker. Part of it was to scratch an itch that I saw going into the gaming industry. One, I saw a lot of layoffs in the industry. Yeah, even in my layoff, I was considering going into a different, going into the gaming industry, trying to move into these different companies. Didn't get any traction, primarily because I'm kind of a newbie. Like, I have no gaming background, or it's not in my resume except for those, those side projects that I did at these different companies, right? I don't have a AAA game release, behind my name. So nobody's, probably looking for somebody like me, right? But then I'm also noticing that people with that experience are still having an issue getting into these roles. And we have our kids coming up today, and they're seeing gaming become big and have no clue. How do I bridge the gap between where I am now and how do I get into the industry? And you take that and you also couple it with the tools that are out there, right? So now my UX brain is kicking in, and I'm looking at these tools that game developers use to make games. And compared to like web design or software design, the tools aren't as mature. The process, I would rather say, the process to make a game isn't as directed as you would see with like enterprise software, right? So it's a lot looser, not as many guardrails in the gaming space that you would see in, tech. And so seeing that, I'm going, wow, but how would anybody who wants to get into this industry really make it unless they learn the tools? Like, you have to learn the tools. Well, one of the things that I'm realizing just in my history and my career in UX is when you over-index on learning the tool and you don't put enough stock into the craft of making a game, you will confuse the two. You will think that because I know the tool, I know how to create a great game, right? And I think this is the problem that we're seeing in the gaming industry is like you have people that know how to use a tool, but do you know how to create a game that's worthy of somebody's time, right?
Yeah.
Or their dollar to download, to play on their, console of choice. So with Playmaker, we decided to focus on that. We decided to say, okay, just forget the tools just for a second. Do you understand what it takes to make a game that's fun? We kind of use the concept of storytelling, right? Because if you think about any game, name what's your favorite game? Monopoly. There is a story behind Monopoly, whether you recognize it or not, whether you bought into it or not. The backstory, the history of it, the culture that's built around it, there's a story that's baked into it to where even the people listening, when they hear the word Monopoly, there are images that are already firing in their head. And all you said was Monopoly. That's it.
Yeah.
Because they took the time to build a story, and then the game was a byproduct of the story. Even the structure of it, even, it's taking themes from different streets and avenues and the economy and taxes and all that. There's an inherent story that's coincides with our actual life, so you can relate to it very quickly. You don't have to think about it. Even if you've never played Monopoly before, you get the premise off the bat. Right? That story drives the game, right? If you get the story right, the design of the game, the experience of the game will follow. Regardless of the tools, Monopoly is a paper game.
Yeah, it's super simple.
Super simple, right? Monopoly Go. I have Monopoly Go on my phone. It's a fun game, but that's a byproduct of history, of stories for decades that carry it. So with Playmaker, we focus more on, do you have a good story for your game, right? Do you understand the mechanics of a game? Do you understand the rules of engagement of a game? Because if I can get you to understand that first, and then spend a few days with me, you produce a paper game. Now you've designed something, built something, played this game with your friends, with your family members, and you're like, okay, I did it. And now you just unlocked, that achievement for making a game. No, it wasn't on Xbox or PlayStation or anything like that, but you just created something from scratch, from nothing. It's yours. It's your intellectual property. Now, when I introduce you to C# or Swift or Kotlin, all these different programming languages that underpin the games that you're playing that you don't understand, there's deep code, computer science under that game. It's not just pretty costumes and stuff. There's some real code underneath these games that are making them run, right? Now, when I teach you that part, when it gets hard, you won't run from it because you've already created a game. It's just in paper format, and you've already been validated by your family members, your friends. This is a solid game. It's fun. So when it gets hard, you'll stick with it because it's already in your mind. You've already built a story and maybe a little bit of culture around it, right? Now you ask a different question. It's not, okay, I want to get into the gaming industry. Okay, what tools do I need to learn, right? Because anybody will tell you a tool, depending on who you talk to, they'll give you a tool. You'll go download the tool, watch a YouTube video, and then give up when it gets hard. But the difference is if you say, hey, I made this game, I really like it. Tell me how I can make my character do this, or tell me how I can create an environment that's fitting for this story that I'm creating. That's a different question. Because now you're bringing some substance to me. And if I'm a mentor or a teacher and you bring that to me, okay, yeah, let's sit down, let's break this thing apart and let me show you how you can use the tools and the technology to bring your vision to life versus trying to use it as a shortcut to jump into an industry because you heard you might
be able to make some money.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's the initial, that's always the initial thought. Like, oh yeah, I think game developers make a lot of money. And some of them, and I have some people in my network who are independent game developers, and they spend a lot of whatever comes in. So I don't know if it's true. Like, there's this significant portion the industry that's making this money. But you touched on something there, and I think the idea of creating the physical product and then taking that into the a digital, into our devices now, like there's so much value in my mind. There's like a premium on experiences now. Right. And so the experience of playing our favorite games, the experience of playing a game like Spades that goes along with some of these games, and they're super basic to your point, right? But people have been playing them since the beginning of time for a reason, right? And there's this staying power with that, and it's really the story behind the game that people connect with. I think it's great that you're centering that for the kids, and I'm going to date myself a little bit, but taking the phones away from them, which is a great thing for me. And here we have on the screen, right? That takes me to the game, because I know the kids are like, well, you're teaching us this, like, where's your game at? Yep. And so talk a little bit about the game, where they can find it, and like what was the thought process around it? Yeah. Like you said, the experience that you were trying to put into this.
So this the good story around this game. So this game is Dwarf, Reach for the Stars. And this was my first game that I built. So by the time this game came along, or this idea came to me, I had designed and developed 3 games for 3 different companies. So after the third one, I went, okay, this is kind of fun. Let me see if I can build my own concept and build around it. So one Saturday morning, I woke up and I said, you know what? I've been thinking about this long enough. I'm going to do it. I'm going to make this game. I woke up early that morning, before my 2 boys woke up. My boys were young. I think they were still single-digit age at the time. And I said, I'm going to build enough of a prototype to get them to play it and to see if it's any good, right? Can I hold their attention more than 2 seconds? So I had this idea of a game to where I would have stars just kind of hidden in space, like using the compass and the gyroscope on the phone to find these hidden stars. So I built the prototype, put it on my phone, and when my boys got up, I said, hey, I made this game. I want you to play it and tell me if it's good or not. And they were like, well, how do you play? I said, I hit 3 stars, and what you have to do is, like, you have to physically move your body, like spin around in circles or whatever, and find the stars. They're just hidden in space, right? Mm-hmm. And so my oldest son, Isaiah, he plays it, and he's like turning in circles. And then when the first star showed up on the screen, he goes, I found one, Dad. And I was like, okay, good. Find the other 3, right? So he spins around, he's jumping, and he's doing all this kind of stuff. And he finds all 3 stars. And then I take the phone from him, I reset the game, and I give it to my younger son, Titus, and he kind of does the same thing, right? And so after they play, I was like, what do you think? Was that a good concept? They were like, yeah, I really like that. And so I changed the coordinates of the stars, and I gave it back to him. I did that maybe 2 or 3 times that morning. And it was to the point where it really like held their attention. Like I had to be like, okay, I need my phone back now, right? Let me keep working on it. So once I did that quick test, like literally like that morning, like this was something that I hadn't Googled it or researched it. It was just, I woke up that morning and I said, I have to do something. Let me just spend an hour or 2, build enough of a prototype, put it in a kid's hands. Let me see what happens. Once I had that, I went, okay, let me build this out into the concept that you see now, where instead of it just being like a white screen with 3 stars on it, it was, can I immerse you in a 3D world? And can I set these like different polar coordinates and have these stars just kind of all around like in 3D space, and then set a timer behind it and put like some, retro arcade music behind it and make it into this concept of Dwarf that it is today, right? And even, we talked about having a support system and having my spouse help. I even got the game to a place to where the concept was good. I had the space theme. I think at the time there was a blood moon eclipse about to happen. And so we were all like NASA geeks and, just kind of in that space mode, right? But I didn't have a name yet. And so we were coming up with different ideas for names, and nothing was sticking. And I was like, I don't know, nothing is happening. And my wife goes, why don't you call it Dwarf? Like Dwarf Star.
Yeah, I thought of Dwarf Star when you just said that.
I was like, she just kind of, again, she's in healthcare. Like, she does not like this design stuff. But she seen me like toil over this name, and she's just like, what if call it Dwarf? And it just bam, that's it. And so it's been Dwarf ever since. And I just not too long ago remastered it for iOS, and I'm working on another version for Android as well. And again, it's kind of that labor of love. One, it was that project to see if I could actually do it, and two, to see if people actually would want to play it. And it's one of those games that I still kind of go back to, even with my busy life and busy schedule. I prioritize so many other things, but my baby Dwarf here is one of those things that I keep pushing. So
you mentioned remaster, just now.
Yeah.
So, like, what does that entail for a game?
Yeah.
I've obviously heard of remastering for like music.
Yeah.
Like a remastered version of like a classic album comes out.
Or another way to say it is like refactor, like I refactored all the code that was in it.
So more efficient.
Make it more efficient. The very first version of Dwarf was written with a technology called Cordova. And so basically it was, I'll explain.
Yeah, explain it to me, please.
So Cordova or PhoneGap, some people might know it by the name PhoneGap. So it's basically if you're building, which, my career, I had a career building web applications. So most of the stuff I did in my 9 to 5 was web apps, right? So I'm building with HTML, JavaScript, maybe some server-side languages like Java or PHP or Perl or something like that. So that was my world. My world was not game development, which uses a different technology stack, right?
Okay.
So to bridge the gap, to build these games, there were these tools called PhoneGap that allowed you to build games using web technologies, and it would literally like fill the gap. It would take your web-based technology and convert it in a way that it can run on a mobile device.
Oh, okay.
So I use that as a way to quickly get the first version of the game out, again, to test it to see if this is something that would hold any value.
Mm-hmm.
But then after I did that, I went, okay, now if I really want to be serious and make this, I need to learn Swift, which is Apple iOS, their native language for their platform.
Okay.
And Kotlin, which is for Google and the Play Store for their apps, their native language is Kotlin. So again, I've learned multiple programming languages throughout my career. So I looked at this as like a curiosity thing to be able to learn just another language, right? And once I get the syntax of the language, I got it. I can build anything, and I'll just build it in those different formats. So now we're in the process of, okay, build it for iOS and Swift, build it for Kotlin for the Google Play Store. But in the middle of that, I picked up an opportunity to teach game development at Champlain College. Now, Champlain College is a Unity shop. I've never built a game in Unity. So in that transition, I'm learning yet another, gaming development platform to just increase my understanding of the industry. Now, in the beginning, I didn't necessarily like that, because when I looked at tools like Unity and Unreal, I kind of felt they were bloated. And relatively speaking, they are, because again, I come from a web world where things are a lot lighter, a lot faster, not massive multi-megabyte, sometimes gigabyte, single, code bases sitting on a console. Right? So it is beefier than what I was accustomed to. But once I learned it and learned how it works, I was able to kind of manage, that accordingly. So that's kind of the evolution of how I'm learning all these different programming languages and these game development tools to get a better understanding of what's required in the gaming industry, and then to also help me educate. Like I said, I'm teaching game development at Champlain, so I'm educating these students on how to understand the tools, but also keep the craft as you prepare for the industry.
And you have to, for consoles, you'd have to incorporate a Unity or... Right. Okay.
Yeah, because it's written in, a lot of these games are written in C# or C++, which for these consoles, right? Like even like a Windows machine or Xbox, something like C# or C++ will run like really well. So it's a performance thing.
Okay.
Right? But then you also use these tools to where you can build it in one common platform with a common language like C, and then deploy it in multiple mediums, right? So that's the benefit of it. It's the gaming industry saying, yeah, I know there are a gajillion different, consoles and hardware devices for you to play your game, but we can streamline all that by using a C-based, code base, right? And then compile it down to a way to where it can be played in different areas. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about, you touched earlier, it was the segue you gave me. I want to make sure we segue back to that, where you were talking a little bit about, you reached a point where you understood that, there's tools, and the tools allow, the computer, it automated the things you didn't want to do so that you could do the things you enjoy now.
Right.
So now we're in a space now where, it's debatable how much work can be done for us, right? But it seems like a lot of the work can be done for us.
Yeah. Yep.
So I'll give you an example in context, and then I'll pass it to you, definitely for your perspective, right? I recently shifted our beyondnormalmedia.com from a traditional web hosting platform, right? And now it's on a Lovable.
Yeah.
Right. And so I'm curious your thoughts with businesses doing that, right? Where it seems like the AI can write some of it, and then now I feel like I'm a coder a little bit, and it's like, what? Talk a little bit about where we're at, and how maybe even in the context of the class, the Playmaker program, like how do you factor in that the kids are going to want to do some AI things and let the AI do some of the work?
Yeah, that's a loaded question.
I figured as much.
I'll start with the first question of what do I think about companies making that move over? I don't necessarily think it's right or wrong or bad, or I think it depends on what you're after. I think in a lot of respects it can help companies who don't have the resources and don't have the means to have those type of experiences that maybe a team of highly trained engineers can give you, right? You can type it into a box or say it will produce it for you, right? I think there's a lot of value in that. So I won't immediately dismiss it and say that's bad. I do think that it does open up a different question of, do you understand the goals that you're after? Do you understand the type of experience that you want to create? And if you do, you can articulate that to this tool, and it will generate exactly what you need. So where I'm seeing people really get the benefit of it, if you have a very clear vision about what you're trying to accomplish, and this tool can help you get there faster, then there it is. And it may not necessarily be a thing of laying off of jobs or anything like that. Now, again, I think there are some scenarios where somebody jumped on the AI train really quickly, maybe made some bad decisions, and then had to come back and adjust some things, maybe in the form of layoffs or some other fashion. And we should just call that out for what it is, right? Mm-hmm. You just made a bad decision.
Even if the founder or the CEO doesn't, in some cases, we call a spade a spade.
We call a spade a spade, right? Somebody made a bad decision. And I don't know why we're afraid to just say that, right? Mm-hmm. But I think in some cases, it's not that. I think in some cases, it's, I can't afford to have a team of 100 engineers. Mm-hmm. So this is the next best thing for me. So I'm going to use this. And if I have a clear vision of what I want to accomplish, win-win. Now, if you don't have a clear vision and you have this powerful tool, what you'll see is AI slop. What you see is memes and cartoons over social media. Mm-hmm. That's what you're seeing right now. That's people that get a new tool and don't really understand the purpose of it, right? When you don't understand the purpose of a thing, abuse is inevitable, right? So again, not inherently bad. I think it's just how you use it. Now, when you think about the next generation coming up, I'm actually pretty excited because I'll give you a quick analogy, right? So in my background, I know how to do video editing, nothing to the level of what you're probably doing on a regular basis.
You'd be surprised. You would be surprised.
But, I can make my way around Final Cut, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when I do Final Cut, like at home, I have like 2 big monitors. Like I need a whole setup. It's a desktop situation. Like I'm not comfortable video editing unless I have that. Right?
Okay.
But I had my son do some work for me for Playmaker. I said, hey, can you make me like a sizzle reel for something really quick? He did it in a couple of hours, all on his phone.
Yeah.
And I'm going, I wouldn't.
You can do a lot from your phone now.
You can do a lot from your phone, right? Now, I can do it from my phone, but that's just not my preference, right? I went to school to do video editing. He learned how to do it on TikTok and YouTube. He learned on his phone, and he's doing the final deliverable on his phone. And I looked at that, and I didn't shut him down. I embraced it. I was like, that's pretty cool, because the clip was hot. Right?
Yeah.
So I think about it from that perspective of, okay, now this new generation that's coming up, they'll have tools like AI. And in my house, I don't shut it down either, right? Like, hey, I feel like this is the future. Now, don't give up the craft. You still need to know your stuff. And I'm going to test you on that. Use the tool, but do you know what you're talking about after you use the tool? Or if it did all the work for you and you can't stand here and explain to me like the old school, like, okay, you do your math, you got to show your work. You got to show your work. So if you show your work and use the tool at the same time, then yeah, I'll endorse that. I think that's a realistic expectation with where things are going.
Yeah, I'm not mad at to your point, like the new generation using it. And I'll give, like, I've heard stories now of like interviews, like people interviewing for jobs, and it's like you can tell they use AI for their resume, and then you can also tell they're using AI in the interview. And I'm like guys, like eventually you can't look at for the robot to give you the answer. And I think the part where I feel comfortable the most with the robot never doing the work is like at least the foundation of the story coming from a human. That makes me feel a lot more comfortable with it.
I agree with that. And I think you also need to think of it as a thought partner. So there's a book that we're reading on my job. It's called The AI Driven Leader. It's by Jeff Woods. And the idea is that you do not give over yourself to this robot, right? You still remain the strategist, the IP, the thoughts, the imagination, the originality still comes from you, but you recognize that this is a partner. You recognize that this is a thing that you can tell it something, and then you also set expectations. I need for you to do this or that. And you instruct it on how it is supposed to respond back to you. You don't just throw it out there and just go, well, what do you think? Right? You have to direct it because you are still very much in control. Like, don't relinquish that control to it. Now, if you do that, then yes, you can wield it to do whatever it is that you need it to do, right? I use it on a daily basis, right?
Me too.
It is crazy. It's crazy how much more creative I am. The analogy that I've thought about with how AI has become so popular in the last 2 or 3 years right now is the transition I had becoming a leader, right? When I was an individual contributor, my job was to come in, clock in, build the app or do the research or do whatever the UX process needed me to do that day, and then go home. And I noticed that I had a limitation. I could only work on 2 high-level initiatives at a time. Maybe I can do like 2 major projects and maybe 1 side project. But if you give me 3 like high-level projects, there's not enough time in the day. I can't touch that many people all at one time. And so I had limitations, like physical limitations at how much I could do. When I became a manager, and it wasn't just me being promoted, it was me coming into a new role and then being taught that, hey, this is a new job. You're no longer an individual contributor. As a leader, we don't expect you to know how to use Figma or know how to, facilitate a workshop is
There's no more player coach, just coach. You're more than a coach.
Right? And your job is to recognize that you have players on your team.
Mm-hmm.
Your job is to make sure that you do the blocking and tackling so the players can do what they need to do unbothered. Right?
Mm-hmm.
That's your job. Right? Once I got that, I was so much more creative. I did not expect that. I did not expect how creative I would be as a leader, because nobody tells you that when you're an IC. They tell you that being a manager is boring and nobody wants to do that. Or we don't need managers. We can just do it all ourselves. But when I made that crossover properly with the right mentorship, I became way more creative than I thought I would. And the reason was because I wasn't using all of my creativity to do one singular thing. I was using my creativity to create a team of designers that collectively could do more than I could do individually. So when AI comes along, I'm going, okay, this is crazy. So I'm a design leader with AI? Say less. How much more can I do now? I can now kind of relinquish a certain task that I do because the computer can do it a lot faster than I can. And then when I get back, is more strategy things that I can then bring to a team of people to go do. So I still keep the human in the middle. I still keep the humanity aspect of what we do, but I don't mix metaphors here, right? Like I have a team of people and I have a team of technology tools, and I'm trying to use them both appropriately, right? To maximize what either I can do or what my team can do.
Oh, that's dope. So now I know that you have this mindset, which I think is definitely progressive. Like it's where we are. Like you said, we need to embrace the AI. We need to embrace and figure out how to lead in this moment. Now that you, like, I guess, what are you seeing from the talent that you're leading or the next generation? Like you said, it sounds like you're excited.
Yeah.
On the space that we're in, and then the next, version of individual contributors, and then the babies coming up and embracing this. Like, I guess, what are you seeing? What are you seeing that? How are you seeing them embrace this moment we're in that separates it from your experience? Because your experience, like you said, you came up, you had some hesitation, right?
Yeah.
And then this computer came, and then you just focus more on what you enjoy.
Yeah.
Is that the same? Are they embracing the tool that way and saying, I want to do more of the same? Or for them, is it more like we've taken the rails off, so be it, a little bit more, and they're just exploring any and all ideas?
I think it is that. I think they're exploring any and all ideas. I think they are embracing technology faster than previous generations. I think part of it is because of the speed of it. In some respects, like, they have no choice but to embrace it if they want to stay relevant. I think that with that, there is a caution, though. There is, and I don't want to say this is like a blanket statement, but I think in that speed, you can lose some fidelity, right? Which previous generations, I think that was the experience of previous generations, right? Like this idea of like, wait your turn, or like you heard the 10,000 hours.
Mm-hmm.
You're not a professional unless you've done something repetitively, right? But now it's hard to do anything for 10,000 hours because it all changes, right? So now the definition of what 10,000 hours is might have to change.
You can do your 10,000 hours with AI in how much time?
Well, that's the thing. So is it
a couple of days now?
Is it 10,000 hours squished down to a couple of days? And it's the equivalent of somebody who's been in the industry, right? Because here's the question, right? Don't know right or wrong or what have you, just posing a question. If I need an attorney and I hire a really good attorney to, fix my situation, then yeah, that's great. If I have the means to do that, that's great. But if I use a tool that can do it in 5 minutes, the situation is fixed. But the thing I don't have is a relationship with an attorney that I could go back to, or I don't know what levers that attorney pulled or what levers this AI tool pulled to solve my issue. So now I have to try it again. And the difference between a person is there's some level of trust there. But even that can be tricky, right? Because it is a person, right? We're all flawed and we all have issues and all those type of things, right? So I don't necessarily look at it as right versus wrong. I look at it as it's either conditional, right? There are risks with having an attorney that's a person. There's a risk of having an attorney that's a bot, right? It just depends on your personal level of
what's at stake?
What's at stake for you? But then you also got to take into consideration what impact would either one of those decisions make on the people that are around you, right? So yeah, you instead of hiring an attorney for your business, you hired AI and it solved the one case. But then is your entire business riding on that? Are you okay with that risk? Fair or foul, right? Did it work, right? So
that's up to the person.
It's ultimately up to the person, right? Even the outcome, right? Backlash, the good and the bad, right? Yeah. So if you take the pats on the back when it works, you gotta take the hits when it don't.
Yeah,
right?
And I think the AI has a built-in mechanism to please a little bit. That worries me, to your point, like you meant, going back to the fidelity. And so it's like, it's gonna tell you in most cases, like, to keep going through something versus having the actual experience of like touching something and somebody telling you like, no, that don't do that anymore. Like,
right.
You know what I mean? Like, there is no, it's both sides though.
It is.
Exploration is like crazy right now. Any idea can be explored, but then it's like, okay, what do you really want to put your resources into?
That's right. And you know what? And I've heard people say that, it's agreeable, and all those types of things. Again, at the same time, if you know it's agreeable, tell it to not.
Yeah, you brought that up earlier.
Tell it to challenge you. And I do that. Like, another thing I like to do is I tell it to interview me. I don't want it to assume the right answer or whatever. I want you to interview me so that you can take what I'm saying as value.
I think and that makes sense, because where we're at now, it's definitely more efficient AI in doing like more like deterministic, like going down set paths versus being like, hey, see how many paths there are and you pick one. And it's like, well, it's a black box. I don't know why it's picking any. Yeah, it'll just keep going. It'll just keep saying, yeah, let's keep exploring. It's like, no, like, I need a little bit more, like you said, definition around this. So that's key.
You gotta define it.
Yeah, you gotta define it. It still puts us in the middle.
Exactly.
So I wanna bring this a little bit full circle here. How can let us know, like, for the Playmaker program with the next generation of gamers, game developers, like, what's in store for this upcoming year, and then how people can tap in and support. Like, what does that support look like?
Absolutely. Well, for many people, if you go to calvinrobertson.com, you can find me, right? I'm working on a new website. So depending on when people hear this, they may see that, but if not, you
always have Calvin Robertson. I don't see you.
Always have Calvin Robertson, right? So that'll be the best way to connect with me to all the things that we're going to be doing. But more specifically, we have another summer game camp coming up. This summer, we're going to do it again at Educator. This will be our third Playmaker game design camp. So they're always a great experience. So, again, connect with me online for that. I also have a couple of speaking engagements coming up. Occasionally, I will do a speaking tour. One will be in Amsterdam, middle of April. I'll be there at the Smashing Conference this year. And then later in the year, in the October timeframe, we'll be in the Maryland area at the UX conference. there. So look for more on that. And so, but other than that, yeah, you'll see me on social media releasing more things. I'm also working on another game, a word game. So be on the lookout for that. Interestingly enough, it's the original version of this game is actually a Dutch game. So it's kind of serendipitous that I'm going to Amsterdam in a few weeks, and I'll go there and kind of share that game with the people there. And but yeah, that'll be coming out later this year too. So.
And I'm curious, like it is conference season to the start of the year for sure. I'm curious, like when you get into the UX conferences and you're in these spaces, like is there anything in particular that's exciting you, like anything upcoming that you're like, oh, like make sure this is on your radar, not for people that may not just for the UX professionals, but like for founders, like, hey, what tools are out there from a design perspective that help me tell a story to my audience? Is there anything?
Well, maybe a slightly different angle. I think the thing that is really, getting me, and this is one of the things that I'm going to be speaking about at these conferences, is really the transition in leadership. Because I think a lot of the challenges that we're having, whether it's gaming industry or tech industry or UX, is leadership. We don't always have leaders who understand the space or understand how to build teams. And the biggest challenge with that is we have good people, they know their craft, but they weren't guided into leadership because it is a different job. And so that's one of the things that I've been really big on in the past couple of years, because everybody's talking about tools, right? Everybody's talking about processes and all those type of things. And so I feel like we have enough of that. The thing nobody's talking about is how do I change this climate? How do I change this environment? How do I create an environment where designers can come in and solve real problems, right? Developers can come in and do some awesome things. And then even with AI, right, you got to be in a position of some level of authority to even, make, that type of impact. And so for me, that's been really, really key that I start to spread that message a little bit. Because again, it's that same analogy I gave about being an IC coming to a manager. Yeah, I can tell you about tools. But if I get in your head and show you how you could be a better leader, you bring all the tools that you have with you, which will far exceed the tools that I can have. It's like both of us can bring up to our respective spheres of influence. We can bring all of our tools together. But the conversation that we had is really about how do I get you to see yourself as a leader?
Exactly.
Show up in
whatever space you're in.
Whatever space you're in.
Yeah, and I think that's powerful because, like you said, we go on like everybody's a student of YouTube University now. Like you can easily go up there and learn a tool, learn a language, learn a process or procedure. And it's like, now that we're at that point, it's like the value is definitely in you showing up and then unlocking value for yourself and more importantly for others.
Like people and the critical thinking that goes with that. It's like, we don't, if there was a YouTube video, you don't see that many YouTube videos. There's a plethora of YouTube videos about Figma.
Oh, for sure.
But that part,
you don't see too many people and specifically see people like dive into it. It's few and far between.
That's it.
That's few and far between.
So that's part of my speaking tour. That is really my concept. I'm calling overflowing leadership, to where I talk with aspiring leaders about how do you don't just keep the leadership to yourself. How do you pass it on to a team to where they can start to do things that exceed what you can do as a...
Yeah, that's dope. Coming to a platform near you. So I will definitely be supporting, and you let us know how we can help out there Beyond Normal Media. Absolutely. Lastly, for this season, we're definitely asking our guests to challenge people's thinking, right? And so I want you to close us out. What do you want people to change about the way that they think about design? After this, hearing this incredible conversation where you drop so many gems, but like, what do you want people to change after hearing this and then moving forward about the space of design?
Absolutely. That design is a byproduct. Design is, in most people's minds, the way something looks. And if that were true, then I would say that it is a byproduct. And so then the next question is, it's a byproduct of what? And I mentioned this earlier, it's if you understand people and if you can articulate the problems that people are having in a productive way, then you've already halfway come up with a good design, right? Mm-hmm. Like the adage that says a well-defined problem is a solution half solved. So design in its true nature, not how we like to promote it today, design was really about solving problems. And the output of that was just a better solution, right? And so if we change that idea to say that it's really the outcome of the byproduct of, first, I want to go in and understand who you are as a person or as a people or as a culture, and then understand what your problems are. And I can articulate that. Then it's almost like the goal will be sitting on top of the ground. Like I don't have to design it because the design will just reveal itself because I spend more time unpacking you.
Oh, that's dope.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna say nothing else. Thank you for tuning in to another great episode of the Beyond Normal podcast, Calvin. Appreciate you for coming on, and we'll definitely be supporting and figuring out how we can tap in with the Playmaker program.
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir. All right now.
Take care.